where we are.
Oh, like
Even
an
if we
establishing shot. Yeah.
establishing shot. That's what I was
Okay.
looking for. Thank you, Jake. Um, yeah. So that those first like three are establishing shot, and then like the rest are like, you know, a close up of half of his face, but it's all segmented, and so I feel like that's supposed to be like indicative of like his like kind of fractured mental state.
Then we get the next issue, which is probably by far my favorite issue. I would have to say, like, I really when I saw why can't I think Jason Woodrue, I was like, yeah, let's get going.
I mean, I have no idea who he is, so I was like, huh, this is interesting. He
Mhm.
seems like an interesting person.
Yeah.
I mean, did we say yet that once the Swamp Thing runs into the wall of light, he gets shot up by the snipers?
Yeah.
No,
we
that's
did not.
probably important to mention.
Yeah. And they're like, well, we got him, boys.
Mhm.
Take him home.
And then
It's dead.
the next issue is called The Anatomy Lesson. Which
Yeah.
I'll say, if we're lining up this part of the story with the TV show, this is actually pretty close to the end of the show.
The end of the show or the end of like the season?
Well, I mean, the show was canceled, so pretty much, yeah.
Yes, yes to both. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man.
I bet they probably spent most of season 1 then trying to like incorporate all of like the whatever the creators deemed important parts of Swamp Thing's history, and then they were all like, okay, season 2 is gonna be basically Alan Moore's stuff. And then it was like canceled.
Yeah, you made me realize there's a character in the show that is totally not in this comic, but he reminds me very much of Etrigan. I think that is the parallel there.
Wait, there's a character in the show you said that's like him?
Yeah.
Mm.
And like him in
Interesting.
that, like how he shows up is right in the middle of something between Swamp Thing and some other.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's really interesting because this whole issue is about, cutting open the Swamp Thing and whatever. And that really reminded me of that one manga, Blade of the Immortal, which is really horror and gory, I would say. Like where this whole section where they're like, we have an immortal person. Let's try cutting them open and seeing what it's like.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of worms involved too, which is really interesting. And I think these were made around the same time.
Oh. I wonder who stole from who. Yeah, so Jason Woodrue is a botanist.
Stealing, but
Oh, okay. So Jason Woodrue is a botanist who the Sunderland Corporation got out of jail. And he's there to examine the body of the Swamp Thing. I'm not exactly sure to what end on Sunderland's part. I don't know if he was still trying to figure out that fertilizer. But Sunderland was like, all right, examine the Swamp Thing. So the issue kind of opens up with him in the future recounting what happened leading up. And so he examines the Swamp Thing, and for a few weeks he gets nothing. Like there's no new information. So Sunderland is growing impatient, and he's like, they'd go on these long walks And at the end of these walks, he would turn to me and he's like, "You don't get it finished." Threatening him.
Yeah, back to jail.
Mm-hmm. And so we also get a hint of introduction to his, I guess, alter ego, the Floronic Man. Love that name.
It's just kind of weird.
Like, Floronic Man to me sounds like somebody who would like shoot heat waves out of his hands, but that's definitely not what he does.
That's not what I would think.
I just thought of like fluorescent light. Like I said, I didn't know who he was, so I was just like, is he just really bright?
Gotcha.
See, I thought of fluoride.
Oh.
And so I was all like, I was all like, oh, well, like fluorine can be dangerous, that's a chemical.
Just
and then
desperately searching for his villain power.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I got a name. I just got to figure out what my power is.
Yeah. And then I was like, or maybe he's an even worse villain than this, and he's like a dentist villain.
Oh, like a gorilla
Fluoride.
dentist, yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
They just call him Teeth Man then.
You would think, yeah.
Or Fluoride Man, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, like, when I heard Jason Woodrue, I obviously pinged Batman and Robin, which is, I guess,
obviously,
where he was the, like, Poison Ivy in that movie was working under him, and basically the accident that happened, well, actually, it wasn't an accident. Jason Woodrue killed Uma Thurman because she was going to expose all of his criminal activities. Not as the Floronic Man, just as a bad botanist.
What kind of crimes was he committing? I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Human testing.
Something to do with the cartels, I think, because they were in, like, Costa Centava, or, like, the weird, like, not Cuba that's in DC Comics.
I think you're thinking of Coro Maltese.
Okay.
Yeah, one of those. I think that's there, not Morocco, or wherever, like, the race scene in Iron Man 2 happened. I think that's somewhere else.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Gosh.
Yeah, Jason.
There are a lot
Someday I'm gonna have.
In that movie, created the Venom formula that Bane uses.
Oh yeah, I think he also did that. Maybe. Yeah, that's a bad movie. Don't watch it. I mean, watch it because it's kind of campy and kind of fun, but it's also bad.
Okay, good to know, man. So people really liked the Floronic Man, it turns out, even though he was like a C-list hero, or I mean C-list villain at best.
Yeah.
Like, even like we get a Justice League cameo in the book later, and even they're like, "This is the guy." Like, this is the guy.
He's lost every single battle he's fought.
Yeah.
I should say I really like his interactions with the Swamp Thing, because it's so often of him just like caressing his face and just like, oh, I wish I had what you have.
Yep.
Like, okay.
Yeah, like
it is
the part with the yams. The part with the yams.
Yams? I didn't catch that.
Okay, so like we should probably get through this section first.
Okay. So
and then we can talk about the yams.
Like the Red Skull, he has fake skin. Reveals that he is Woody. I guess this is the right way to say that.
Oh yeah, I guess this comic doesn't go into it, but do any of us know what the deal with Floronic Man is?
No.
Just a guy who's a plant. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But not in the way that we learned that Swamp Thing is a man who is a plant.
Mm-hmm. No, because Swamp Thing is a plant who thinks this is Floronic Man.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
that's what we find out in this. We find that out in this issue, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like he still has plant versions of like all his organs, even though like he doesn't need them. But is that like the same thing for Moronic Man?
I definitely
sure
not, because he's so baffled by it.
Like
I guess he probably hasn't cut himself open, but he is very baffled when he cuts Swamp Thing open and is like, it's a heart, but it's useless. It looks like a heart, but it's just not gonna work. And same with like everything else, the lungs and everything.
I guess like what I'm trying to figure out is he closer to Killer Croc, who was born with a deformity who makes him a crocodile, or is he Dr. Freeze had a lab accident and made him a supervillain?
I want to say Dr.
Freeze. It's a lab accident, right? Because like the whole thing with Poison Ivy then.
I mean, according to his Wikipedia page, it turns out it's closer to Killer Croc, but actually further removed than you would expect. I'm so like, just like, why didn't this come up? How didn't this come up in the book we read? But Woodrow is an exile from an interdimensional world called Floria, inhabited by dryads.
Of course, it's so easy.
That's pretty close to how he was in the Batman Harley Quinn movie. That did not cross my mind while reading this.
It's just such an easy origin story.
Wait, he was in the Batman Harley Quinn movie?
He's just an immigrant from another dimension.
So he's Superman.
Decided to become a botanist. I mean, I guess Superman is an immigrant who decided to become a newsboy. Probably not the right word.
Paperboy.
He's a reporter. He's not selling newspapers on the street. He's writing the articles.
He's a boy and he works in the news.
So, after 3 weeks of getting nothing and making no progress, Woodrow finds out something about planarian worms. Yeah. And he's
it jogs his mind about planarian worms, right?
No, he was reading
about before.
He was reading a book about them.
Okay, yeah. So he found out and he's like, oh, this connects.
Yeah, because he was like, planarian worms, what they do is they eat their own and then inhabit properties of them. Oh, no. Sorry, it was a test. So what it was they trained a planarian worm to run a maze, and then they would serve the planarian worms to other planarian worms, and then they would know how to run the race, or the maze. And so he was like, and that's how plants worked. And so he went to explain this to Sunderland, and he was like, okay, the plants consumed him. Alec was dead before he hit the water. But with all those chemicals, those plants kind of grabbed onto him and then absorbed his essence. They remembered having a body. They remembered having a heart, a liver, and they made them. And that's why you don't need them. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, this is very on brand for Alan Moore, and like basically like is like I don't trust him to do anything except write comic books. Like,
wait. What's
especially because like Alan Moore, this part of the story is on brand for him. Because like, you know, basically like, I don't know. I just get the feeling that he like, you know, because I mean, I've heard about this like planarian worms thing. It's not just made up for the comic book. That's like a real world thing. But then like, you know, Woodrow extends it to like eating the wise man in a village, you know, and it's all like, no. And like, I kind of feel like Alan Moore, like, you know, has at least an inkling to believe that. Like, and I'm like, yep, I just don't trust you to do anything except for write good comic book stories.
Gotcha. But yeah, so Sunderland owns this dude. I was like, oh, okay, all right. So Sunderland was like, all right, that's done. I've heard enough. And Jason was like, oh, you can't possibly understand the implications. You don't have the right background. And Sunderland's like, I don't need to know the right background. I'm a businessman. My background is I make decisions. I have other people who have the right background understand the minutia. I just say, aim here, or something to that effect. And so
Mm-hmm.
he was like, and now that you have given me what I wanted, I have need of you no more. And I don't know if he said that he would send him to jail again, but he just kind of walked off. And then Woodrow was
Yeah.
like, ha, 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 joke's on you. I know how to work a computer.
Yeah, I should say he pretty much says, you'll get your termination papers soon because I don't need you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And man, so dumb. You're like, I don't need you anymore. Now I'll be leaving the room.
Yeah.
Do anything you want in my office. Disgruntled employee.
Yeah.
And so then the Swamp Thing woke up and found the papers found Woodrow's notes. And he was like, Sunderland. Goes after and attacks Sunderland. Oh, I should say his name is Avery Sunderland.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Sunderland tries to escape, but thanks to Woodrow, his handprint isn't recognized. And so he can't escape, and then Swamp Thing just kind of like, does he snap his neck? What happens here? He just kind of pulls his head into him.
Strangles him.
Well, he
smothers him, strangles him. It's all the same.
Mm.
He's not nice to him, even though it doesn't look that vicious.
He gives him a hug.
It's a very warm hug and never lets him go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so yeah, and then that's the end of that issue. Well, that issue, I was like, oh, Woodrow, oh man, he was very poetic during that issue. I think it was during that issue later, but Woodrow, like throughout the thing, is very poetic.
Yeah, it really did remind me of like Edgar Allan Poe, honestly, like a Telltale Heart kind of writing.
Gotcha.
Basically just knowing the horror that's coming. Also, when Swamp. Oh wait, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, I really like this issue just so much that Woodrow really saw what was gonna happen even before it happened. And like, at first I thought he was the one who's like watering the Swamp Thing. But Swamp Thing was slowly growing back. I was like little panels where like something's happening there, and like the anticipation. And the fact that Woodrow was like, I figured out all this stuff. This is really cool. He's obviously not dead. You thought you could shoot this thing and it would just be dead and stay dead. Like, you guys are so dumb. Like, he doesn't even get to that part yet. And then the fact that he knows that the Swamp Thing's going to get up and going to, if he gets to read the notes, he's not going to like what he reads. Just knowing, like you were saying, knowing the horror is coming.
Yeah. Also, some of the the panels from basically Swamp Thing and Sutherland meeting face to face, like basically right after that, when it's first revealed, then Swamp Thing's close-ups are so good. Because he just looks so horrifying, like the red eyes with the yellow pupils and the just all of the mossiness around his eyes. It's like in a close up on his teeth, and they're all like gnarled. Oh, and his tongue too when he yells. Like all of that is just chef's kiss. Yeah. And then yeah. Also the panel layouts are really, really cool too. Throughout this book. I think that the panel layouts are a lot of fun. There's just like lots of overlapping and lots of like sliding and tilting and just definitely not the 9 or 3x3 grid that Watchmen is known for.
Man, I thought it was weird that like Woodrow. I think it appears. Yeah, it's like the first page in this issue and the last page of how gridded images. It's split into many different panels, and it was kind of. I don't know. I was kind of like taken aback by that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm trying to skip to the beginning of this issue. It's like I was right at the end. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I think that's like, supposed to convey like, kind of, I don't know, a segmented, like, because we see like, so first, like the first trapezoid of that page of panels, is like basically what's the word, like a oh man, it's blanking out of my mind. It's a setup shot though, like it's showing where we are.
Like an establishing shot. Yeah.
Establishing shot. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Jake. Yeah, so like that those first like 3 are establishing shot, and then like the rest are like, a close up of half of his face, but it's all segmented, and so I feel like that's supposed to be like indicative of like, his like kind of fractured mental state.
Gotcha.
And then like the other half of the segments are what he's imagining, and so like that's what's going on in his fractured mental state, that's at least how I kind of can interpret it. And then at the end of the issue, I don't know if I can get there fast enough. Let's see here. Yeah, Swamp Thing attacks Sutherland, and then there we are. Yeah, now and it's very like kind of turned upside down and flipped backwards a little bit, because there is a similarly sized trapezoid, and that like is another establishing shot getting closer and closer and closer in on him, and then we get half of his face again, and then like where are the words that it's raining in Washington tonight. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the end is supposed to be signifying. The beginning to me seemed a little bit easier, and maybe I'm not totally like on the right path for that.
I think he said that in the beginning.
Right. Yeah, he probably did. I think he says it throughout.
Are you talking about the part about the raining?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean the whole issue in actuality is more of Woodrow kind of remembering the situation in the past, because at the beginning it has him, he knows this is happening right now, and he's very pleased. He's looking out, oh, it's raining. He's like, I wonder if there'll be blood when he dies. He's thinking of him, trying to get out through the door and just pounding on the door and the glass, and he's thinking about it while it's raining outside. There's a part towards the beginning I don't think we actually went over, when they talk about what happened to Alec Holland's wife, Linda. Because I do love does Sunderland say? His wife and coworker. You know these people. Liberal, equal relationships, caring and sharing. Like, oh man, what a horrible thing to do, to love someone else and care about them.
I know.
Well, okay.
They
No,
talk
it wasn't
about-
that. It was that you loved and cared for your coworker. That was.
It's that his wife has a job. That's the problem.
Yep.
I mean, he literally has such a look of disgust on his face when he says liberal, equal relationships, caring and sharing. But the whole thing they talk about with his wife is his wife was exposed to the same stuff, but when they looked at her dead body, because she was shot too, shortly after, I think, the explosion, they examined her body, and she didn't have any traces of the same thing that happened to, Alec Holland.
Because it wasn't Alec Holland. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, because the fertilizer doesn't have an effect on the human body.
Yeah.
It has an effect on the plants. And the plants went, this is a really good human body to eat. So they ate Alec Holland. And then they became Alec. And then they went, wait, oh man, I was a human a little bit ago. And I had a heart and I had all these things. It's just like, man, if this happened to a kid who doesn't know what a heart looks like, would that be
You know what this reminds me of? And it's weird that it only pinged now. It's in a Spider-Verse story. There's Spiders Man, which is like a million spiders who, when Peter Parker died, his consciousness transferred to the spiders, and now the spiders go around pretending to be Spider-Man.
It's two kids in a trench coat, but taken to an extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Ooh, I don't like that.
yeah, it's bad. I don't think a lot of people liked it.
No, that's a good call, Jake. I forgot about Spiders Man too. At least the spiders didn't eat Peter Parker and then become Spiders Man.
I guess, but I mean, they could have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Never shown on screen.
Yeah, I guess I just assumed it was psychic transfer, but who knows?
Okay, the fact that like the fact that the Swamp Thing like it gets out of here, and they're like, and Woodrow is like, man, where would he go after this? After finding out that there's no chance of him ever becoming human again, and the fact that he's actually in a plant who believes he was human, and it's like, oh, he'd go back to the swamp.
Yeah.
Which is like, I think he probably would have gone back to the swamp anyway. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, also, I feel like
he looks like the swamp. He's gonna go back to the swamp. It's Shrek.
Oh my gosh! I didn't. Wow! I didn't make that connection.
Oh man. Yeah, but also like it obviously wouldn't have kept the emotional energy of the story, but there is a part of me that really wanted to see like Swamp Thing's adventure, like trying to like, because he was in like a big, city building, so he had to get out of that building and run on the city streets, like
as the Swamp Thing is dealing with existential horror and like knocking over a hot dog stand by accident.
Yeah. Like running out into the street, the car's like womp womp. Like
yeah. I mean, you're
causing
just planning
car
out
accidents.
the next Marvel movie, right?
Oh yeah, this is DC,
Animated
but
movie. Yeah, sorry.
yeah.
Hey, there you go.
I was just thinking of Into the Spider-Verse style, but with the Swamp Thing, and just like a whole comedy sequence of him just like I was saying, dealing with existential horror and like running out into the street and like nobody takes me seriously. I can see it now.